What's up, guys? So it's been a while since I talked about this aspect of things, but it's been my story for a couple years that when you have the really bad catastrophic cycles in history, they always report seeing weird things up in the sky. And if you really look at what the artist is portraying here, is the trumpet, it's sounding a trumpet because there's a burning comet coming through our atmosphere. There's even accounts of a foul odor and corrupted air that usually leads to a plague of some sort associated with these as well. That being in the 1300s, around, the story they give us for the Black Death. Also, crazy electrical storms are associated with all of this. I've seen a lot of videos about, the old buildings having lightning rods up top and finials of all different sorts. And you take into account old woodcuts like this showing that, well, the place burnt down because of lightning. So lightning rods make a lot of sense if there's crazy electrical storms. So I want to show you guys this documentary. I can't play it, but I can turn on the closed caption and show you what's going on. I'll link it down in the description. But this was filmed, probably 80's, 90's. It looks like it's recorded on VHS. This guy died in 1996, so let's say late 80's. Evidently, he was the last druid of his triad of the old Gaelic order, or just the order, and said he hadn't seen anybody else from the order in years and assumes that he's the last one. Now, he does just stand out here with some bird seed and feed wild birds that come up and land on his hand, so that's a little bit of street cred, Not many people are going to pull that trick off. Now, he spent 30 years in training, and, they said it was over law and philosophy and, just everything. So that if everybody in the world got wiped out except for one individual, he should be capable of reestablishing everything. That's a pretty interesting responsibility for your schooling. Kind of makes our education look like a joke. This tradition, which has existed for 3,000 years, may disappear, of which I may be the last member of the tradition, came into existence after the last great cataclysm or catastrophe, which affected the whole world. Now, you have varying degrees of these to where you'll have localized destruction, and then there's the civilization ending ones, like he's talking about 3,000 years ago. So this would have been the Greek Dark Ages. This is pre-Roman, even pre-Mycenaean culture. Basically what we have all of the ruins for all around North Africa and the Mediterranean, all that whole culture was built rising from the ashes of the previous civilization to them. But these guys were very sophisticated with the way they built their cities. They were well planned out, making aqueducts, taking fresh water for miles to get into the city. They had big communal baths with hot water. I mean, it seemed like a great life. You grow your grapes, make your wine, go to the show on Friday night, get crazy at the baths. I don't know. That's probably about how it went down. But these guys threw caution to the wind, and they built all of their cities right along coastlines, and they're all wiped out now. The people before them built structures like this. And who knows how many civilizations have come and gone since these have been built. Nobody knows how they were built, but somehow these guys were able to stack these big, huge stones on top of each other. Now, why go through the trouble? Maybe it was easy. I don't know. But there are thousands of these. And, I know they're all over India, Europe, a lot of places out of the world. I've always found it weird that there's no ancient megalithic structures in North America. And I think it's probably because North America got wiped out worse. But you don't build these to get out of the rain. The wind's going to blow it right in there. The last great catastrophe, which affected the world. Now, with these great and terrible impacts by great electrical storms being caught up in the tails of meteors. Civilization as we know it was totally destroyed. I don't know why they said laughter after that, because there wasn't any laughter in the documentary. My last couple videos, I talked about this comet Schwarzman Watchman that they said may or may not cause a meteor storm. Thousands of meteorites every hour, like the 1833 one. And if anybody wants to debate whether or not physical rocks fall from the sky, see this video. But this Schwarzman Watchman comet broke up, and before breaking up, it was 2.2 kilometers. That's freaking huge. That's 10 times, or it's like 1,000 times the Tunguska event, which was like 20 kilometers, or 20 meters, sorry. 3 weeks ago, we had another chance of one of these meteor showers, and they said that there was a 400 and 800 meter double minor planet, I think they called it. But you have great electrical storms, and they were caught up in the tail of meteors or showers of meteorites. And this all matches up perfect with this woodcut from the 1300s. So the order was concerned with astronomy because they had experienced so many very significant calamities, and thought that a full knowledge of astronomy would enable them to predict conditions when these calamities were likely to take place, and to take some kind of action to protect themselves. If you look at the great megalithic structures in Ireland, you'll see that what are described as passage graves are really bomb shelters. These people were really concerned with big rocks coming down out of the sky and hitting them. And they knew if it came down and hit the ocean, that was trouble too, so they built them well above any tidal wave. So kind of like Three Little Pigs there. If you build along the coast, then you run the possibility of having your civilization wiped out. But they built these just to run to, for shelter. So who knows what kind of actual city they had, actual towns they had. And who knows how they built these. Now, like all the Roman cities, the amphitheaters, all that, I can see how all that's made. This stuff, I don't know. But the guy does go into something I didn't expect here in a second. But yeah, he's very clear that these are shelters from aerial bombardment. And they'd be stocked with food and grain in case anything happened. And that some of these were for special people, presumably. Who do you guys think? Like the king and queen and the bankers. These would be for the telepaths. Kind of caught me a little bit out of left field there. But he's saying that the most important people in their society were the telepaths. So you're talking about a culture completely 180 away from us, evidently. Then he goes into every culture has a record or a period of a golden age when there's no war, no dispute, and no lying. And this was attributed to the fact that language had not been discovered. And the telepathic function was the principal means of communication. And then you had these catastrophes, and some of them retain the telepathic power, but most of them, because they were isolated and traumas, had developed languages. Now, he doesn't say anything in the documentary. I wonder if it got cut. There's a few things I may talk about later, what he says about the dating and stuff in another vid, but this was a BBC professionally produced, production, so there's only so much that those guys are going to be able to show. But I wonder if he says anything about telepaths being responsible for building these. I mean, anybody that's interviewing this guy talking about he knows the history of all of these big, huge megaliths, wouldn't you just have to ask him, how was this built? I mean, wouldn't that just be an automatic question for any one of us if we were talking to this guy? But he makes it very clear in the vid that 3,000 years ago, there was so much stuff falling from the sky that they had to build shelters from it in Ireland. The reason I say in Ireland is because there's been different events in different places with varying results. But let's take, for instance, Meteor Crater, Arizona. If that flew in from the southwest and hit, I mean, nobody along the East Coast would ever even know anything happened, other than there'd probably be crazy earthquakes and change in weather, and all of this weird stuff would happen. They may see some lights in the sky off to the east, but they wouldn't know what had happened there. And odds are, unless it came off and was a piece of a larger comet that was way up there, nobody would see anything, or you wouldn't see it from very far away. But it'd be really easy to have the after effects basically everywhere in the world if it was powerful enough, you know? Anyway, I just learned about one that has happened a lot closer in history than I've really known about. And what I've learned so far is pretty interesting, so I'll get that out there. But there you have it, guys. An old druid living out in a little quaint little English house back in the 80's did an interview, and he said that the world ended in meteor showers and rain from above. And I might add that you don't have to see lights in the sky to see the signs of the times. And I'm sure this video will be watched by a lot of people that don't watch some of the other videos, but there's a lot going on in the world out there, and might not be a bad idea to just go ahead and act like there's a meteor about to hit and get yourself ready for whatever you would need in that situation, because power hungry GOVs are just as dangerous as any lights up in the sky. Just saying. Static out.